Now let's turn our attention to Argentina. Its capital is Buenos Aires. It saw protests through the night yesterday at the Argentine Congress. Thousands descended upon it. The crowds were livid. They were chanting slogans and banging pots and pans. What were they so upset about? Their new president, Javier Milei, and his radical plans for the country's economy. Milei won the Argentine presidency last month. He's campaigned on a platform of economic reform, or rather, economic shock therapy. And that's what he's doing now. But some people no longer like what they voted for. So first things first, how bad is the economy of Argentina? It's in dire straits. Inflation rates have crossed 150% and 40% of the population is living in poverty. Of course, this did not happen overnight. Successive governments have played a part. So Milei promised a total overhaul. That's the platform he campaigned on. He presented himself as an outsider, someone who would dismantle the entire political system and make radical changes to shock the Argentine economy into reviving. That was his plan. And as soon as he took office, he began the shock therapy. He announced austerity measures. He devalued the currency, that's the Argentine peso. He devalued it by more than 50% and promised more tough reforms in the days to come. Now, Milei, like any political leader, is not universally liked. Yes, he won the presidency, but many also voted against him. And these are the people who are protesting. They're furious with the austerity measures. This is what the plan looks like. Firing people from public sector companies, shutting down 9 government ministries. They account for a third of all public sector jobs. He wants to shut them down. Bringing back personal income tax. It was abolished by the previous government. And of course, the devaluation of the peso. Thousands took to the streets yesterday to protest these moves.
I am protesting, defending my right to express myself, to demonstrate, my right to eat, to live, the right to access health and everything that is at stake today.
How did Milei respond to the demonstrations? Initially, he had warned about the consequences. He said people could demonstrate but not block roads. Those found disrupting traffic would be taken off government support programs. And yesterday's protests were largely peaceful. It should have ended there. But then, President Milei gave Argentina another shock. Listen to this.
Today, I have signed a decree of necessity and urgency to begin to unblock the oppressive legal and institutional framework that has destroyed our country.
You heard him. Milei issued a presidential decree. He says it contains some 300 reforms. 300. And he went on to list about 30 of them. Here are the highlights.
1. Repeal of the renting law so that the real estate market will once again function smoothly and renting will not be an odyssey. Repeal of the regime of state-owned companies. Transformation of all state enterprises into joint stock companies for subsequent privatization. Authorization for the transfer of all or part of Aerolíneas Argentinas' shares. Amendment of the Companies Act to allow football clubs to become public limited companies if they wish to do so. Deregulation of satellite internet services to allow the entry of companies such as Starlink.
Milei plans to end rent controls, privatize Argentina's national airlines, eventually privatize all of Argentina's public sector companies, and completely open up the economy. He also wants to end export limits for Argentine goods. With the devaluation of the peso, this should be a boon for the country's exporters, but there's a catch. He did all of this via an emergency decree. It's known as a decree of necessity and urgency in Argentina. Milei has been avoiding parliament, where his party is in the minority. So the opposition says his moves are dictatorial. And his detractors took to the streets last night, protesting against the fire sale of public assets.
You can't sell the country with a decree of necessity and urgency. If they want to take the measures that the president-elect announced today, it has to be by law. It cannot be by decree.
There's no doubt that Argentina's economy needs a reform, and Milei did promise shock therapy. He says things will get worse before they get better. But are the people of his country willing to wait? We'll see in the coming months.